The night was darker than I had ever seen. The trees along the narrow road swayed like silent giants. Every shadow seemed alive, watching. I had heard the stories. Everyone had. The Headless Horseman. But stories are just stories, right? I parked my car at the edge of the old town. The sign read, "Welcome to Sleepy Hollow," half broken, leaning to one side. A chill ran down my spine and I realized my hands were trembling. From the shadows, a figure appeared. He was tall, thin, wrapped in a dark coat, face hidden. "Lost or curious?" he asked. I swallowed, just curious. He smiled, or maybe it was a grimace. "My name is Elias Van Tassel," he said. "I know why you are here." My heart thumped in my chest like a warning drum. "You want the truth," he said, stepping closer. "About the headless man. He's real." A sudden gust of wind rattled the old church windows. The night seemed to lean in, listening. "You'll see him," Elias whispered. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but curiosity anchored me there. He led me down the cobblestone path. The fog grew thicker, curling around our ankles. I felt eyes on me. "This town," Elias said, "has secrets, old ones, dangerous ones. You'll see shadows you can't explain, sounds you can't identify. And by the end of tonight, you may not leave unchanged." From the woods, a distant gallop echoed. I froze. Elias did not flinch. "That's him," he said, voice calm but heavy. "The Headless Horseman rides these woods, hunting his lost head. And tonight, you will see him." The wind howled around us, rattling the trees. I felt something brush my shoulder. Nothing was there. A scream cut through the distance, but not a human one. I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted to the ground. I was trapped in the beginning of a story I didn't want to be part of, but couldn't escape. The night was alive and it was hungry. I realized then that Sleepy Hollow was waiting for me. And so was he.
The fog thickened as we entered the woods. Branches scratched at my arms, as if warning me to turn back. Elias moved ahead, calm, like he belonged here. Then I heard it, the gallop, slow, deliberate, echoing off the trees. My heart hammered. "There," Elias whispered, pointing. Through the mist, I saw him, a dark figure on a black horse, and he had no head. The horseman's body loomed larger than life. The pumpkin he held glowed like fire. The horse's hooves pounded the earth like thunder. The sound made my chest vibrate. I could feel the vibrations in my bones. Elias stepped forward. "He comes for those who wander," he said. "Not all survive the night." The horseman stopped and stared directly at me. Even without a head, I felt his gaze. A branch snapped behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The horseman moved closer. My legs shook. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't obey. The air grew icy. The pumpkin flickered and hissed. Then the horseman hurled it toward me. I ducked just in time. The pumpkin exploded on the ground. Fire and smoke erupted. The heat singed my face. When the smoke cleared, he was gone. Only the echo of hooves remained. Elias turned to me, pale. "You saw him," he said softly. Few ever do. Most run. Some never return. I could barely speak. My mind screamed, but no sound came out. The forest seemed to close in. "Follow me," Elias whispered. He led me to an abandoned cabin. Inside, the air smelled of smoke and decay. I sat, shaking. Every nerve in my body was alive. Outside, I could hear the wind moan. Elias stared into the shadows. "He's patient," he said. "He waits for fear to settle, then strikes." I understood then. This wasn't just a legend. The Headless Horseman was real, and he was hunting tonight. I realized with a cold certainty I might be next, and nothing could save me, not the stories, not the light, not even Elias. The cabin door creaked. A shadow flickered outside. I held my breath. And then, silence. Too much silence. I knew the night had just begun.
I barely slept that night. The cabin felt alive, whispering secrets I didn't want to hear. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a warning. Then, the sound came. Slow at first, then faster. A pounding rhythm that made my chest ache. I ran to the door. The fog had thickened outside. I could see nothing, yet I felt him there. A shadow appeared between the trees. The horseman. Headless, unstoppable, a dark silhouette against the moonlight.
I stumbled backward. The pumpkin glowed, thrown from nowhere. It hit the ground with a thud. I ran blindly. Branches tore at my clothes and skin. The horses in shadow followed every step. Elias appeared beside me. "Don't look back," he shouted, "but listen. Listen to the rhythm of his hunt." I realized the pounding of hooves wasn't just behind me. It was all around me. The trees themselves seemed to gallop in rhythm. A scream split the night, but it wasn't mine. It came from deeper in the woods. I wanted to stop, but fear pushed me forward. My legs burned. The horseman appeared in front of me. I skidded to a halt. He was closer than I imagined possible. I stumbled backward into a ditch. Mud and leaves coated my hands. I looked up. He raised the glowing pumpkin. Time slowed. Everything was silent except my heartbeat and the faint, terrifying sound of hooves. Then, a sudden gust of wind knocked me off my feet. I landed hard, pain shooting through my shoulder. The horseman paused, as if savoring the moment. I crawled behind a tree. Branches tore at my jacket. I could barely breathe. Elias's voice came from the shadows. "Through the clearing! Hurry!" I scrambled forward. The fog thickened, curling around me like fingers. And then I saw it. A figure on horseback, blocking the only exit. I froze. The horseman raised his arm. The pumpkin glowed brighter, illuminating his massive, empty chest. I knew I couldn't outrun him. I didn't have to. He was already inside my mind. Every step I took echoed in terror. Then a branch snapped underfoot. The horseman charged. The pumpkin flew past me. It exploded against the tree, showering sparks. I screamed. The sound swallowed by the night. When I looked up, Elias grabbed my arm. "We can't stay here," he whispered. "The woods aren't safe, not for anyone." I nodded, shaken. I realized Sleepy Hollow was alive, and that the Headless Horseman was the soul of this cursed town. And in that moment, I understood. He wasn't hunting for headless soldiers anymore. He was hunting for fear. And I had plenty.
We stumbled into a clearing. The moon illuminated the ground in pale silver. Everything was still. Elias knelt by an old stone. "This," he said, brushing away dirt, "is where it began. The Hessian, the headless soldier." I peered at the stone. Names were carved deep, centuries old. The ground seemed alive, pulsing under my fingers. "The curse," Elias continued, voice low, "binds him to this land. He cannot rest, not until—" I didn't finish his sentence, and he didn't either. Then I heard it, soft at first, whispering. A name. My name. I froze. The horseman appeared again, emerging from the mist, closer than before. This time, I saw his face, if it could be called that, a hollow void where his head should be. Eyes burned into me from inside the darkness. Elias grabbed my arm. "You must understand, he feeds on fear. Your fear. Everyone's fear." The ground beneath us trembled. Leaves swirled into a vortex of mist. I could barely see Elias. Then it charged. I dove sideways, hitting the cold earth. The horseman passed, leaving a trail of freezing air. I scrambled to my feet. The forest was alive with whispers. Each shadow moved like it had its own mind. Elias pulled me to an abandoned barn. "Inside," he urged. "He cannot follow into sanctified ground." I didn't ask why. I just ran. We slammed the door shut. The horseman's hooves rattled outside, circling. The pumpkin glowed through the cracks. Elias whispered again. The curse began with betrayal, blood, and vengeance. The headless man is bound to this land until the debt is paid. I asked, voice trembling, "Can it be broken?" Elias shook his head slowly. "No, not by us. Only by him or someone brave enough to confront the truth." A gust rattled the barn walls. The horse whinnied outside. I realized then, the night was not just long, it was endless. The horseman's shadow stretched across the barn floor. I could feel his intent, cold and hungry. Elias lit a lantern, casting more shadows than it dispelled. "You will see things tonight," Elias said quietly. "Things that cannot be unseen. And once you see, the fear stays forever." A scream echoed from deep within the woods. It sounded human, yet hollow, like it came from everywhere. My stomach twisted. I realized then, I was not just a visitor in Sleepy Hollow. I was a part of its story now, and the horseman would make sure I never forgot.
The barn door shook violently. The horseman's hooves rattled against the earth outside. The lantern flickered, casting monstrous shadows. Elias grabbed my hand. He whispered, "Stay close. Every step counts. One misstep, and he takes you." I nodded, though my limbs were frozen. The air felt thick, heavy, like it was pressing against my chest. I could hear my own heartbeat echoing in my ears. Then a shadow appeared outside a broken window. The glowing pumpkin head flickered, illuminating the horseman's massive form. His headless body loomed closer, each step deliberate, unstoppable. I swallowed hard. Elias urged, "Go!" We bolted through the back door into the thick fog. The forest swallowed us. Branches clawed at our faces and arms. Every shadow seemed to move on its own. I heard the horseman behind us, closer than ever. I could feel the chill from where his head should be. We stumbled into a small clearing. The fog swirled, forming shapes that weren't there moments ago. I could see pale faces pressed against the mist, silent and watching. Suddenly, a tree fell across our path. I leapt over it, heart pounding. Elias followed, eyes wide with fear. The horseman stopped at the edge of the clearing. His glowing pumpkin lit the fog like a torch. And then he disappeared. We paused, gasping. But the silence was deafening. Too long, and I knew it meant he was close. I heard a whisper from the mist, my name. Not Elias's, not mine, his. We ran again. The forest became a labyrinth of shadows. Every tree seemed to stretch toward us, grasping. A scream echoed somewhere above. It wasn't human, and yet it was full of pain. I stumbled and fell. The horseman was right there. Pumpkin raised, body towering, air freezing. I could see where his head should be, a hollow void, endless and dark. Elias yanked me to my feet. He shouted, "There!" Through the ruins. We burst into an old stone ruin. Walls crumbled and shadows danced inside. The horseman stopped at the entrance, silent this time. The air was thick with dread. Every step we took
echoed like a scream. I realized the ruins were a trap, every corner, every shadow watching. Then I saw them, figures, human yet twisted, their faces frozen in terror. Elias whispered, "Those who failed the horseman, trapped here forever." I shivered. Fear clawed at my chest. I knew we had no way out, not really. And then the ground shook. The horseman's voiceless presence filled the ruins. I realized he didn't need a head to terrify. I grabbed Elias's hand. We ran into the darkness, praying the fog would hide us. But I knew, deep down, the hunt had only just begun.
We ran blindly through the fog. Every step felt heavier than the last. My lungs burned. The horseman's shadow loomed behind us. The glow of his pumpkin head flickered through the mist. He was closer than ever. Branches snapped underfoot. I stumbled and fell again. Pain shot through my side. "Get up," Elias hissed. I scrambled to my feet. But the horseman's presence was suffocating. Then he appeared fully in front of us. Towering, headless, pumpkin glowing bright like a warning fire. I froze, staring into the void where his face should be. I could feel his gaze. Even without a head, it penetrated my mind. Every fear I had, he knew. Elias stepped forward. "You must face him," he said, voice trembling. "He tests your fear. Survive, and you may escape." I swallowed hard. I had no choice. The forest seemed to shrink around me. The horseman raised his pumpkin. A low, unearthly wind swirled around us. The smell of smoke and decay filled my nostrils. I took a step forward, then another. Every movement felt like walking through fire. The horseman lunged suddenly. I dove sideways, hitting the cold ground. The pumpkin missed me by inches, exploding against a tree. Elias grabbed my arm. "Keep moving," he shouted. We darted into a narrow ravine. The horseman circled, cutting off escape paths. I could hear the wind whistling past him. The forest itself seemed to conspire with him. Then I saw it, a small bridge over a stream. It looked weak, broken in places. It might be our only chance. Elias pushed me forward. "Run!" he yelled. I sprinted, heart pounding, fear clawing at every nerve. The horseman followed, pumpkin blazing. The bridge creaked and groaned under our weight. Water rushed below, dark and unforgiving. I leapt across the last gap. Elias followed seconds later. The horseman stopped at the edge. He didn't cross. For a moment, silence. Then the wind howled. The horseman vanished into the fog. I sank to the ground, trembling. Elias looked at me, pale. "He tests you. He lets you live," he whispered. I realized the truth. This night was not over. The Headless Horseman hunts forever. And Sleepy Hollow, it would never let me go.
We collapsed behind an old stone wall. The fog swirled around us, thick and suffocating. Every shadow seemed to twitch with life. Elias looked at me, his face pale. He said, "There's something I haven't told you. Something about this town and me." My heart sank. I said, "Go on," voice shaking. I needed to know, even if it terrified me. Elias took a deep breath. He said, "I was born here, descended from those who first cursed the Headless Man." I stared at him, frozen. You're tied to this?" He nodded, eyes hollow. He continued, "The curse feeds on fear, yes, but it also feeds on bloodlines, those with ties to Sleepy Hollow. It watches them most. And tonight, it found you." I swallowed hard. I whispered, "Why me?" Elias said quietly, "You were curious, and curiosity here can be deadly." A sudden noise echoed. Branches snapped near the clearing. The horseman was back. I froze. Elias grabbed my hand. He whispered, "We need to move, now." We ran through twisted paths. Every corner of the forest seemed alive. Figures moved in the fog, faces pale, eyes wide, mouths silent. I realized these were the trapped souls, those who failed the horseman. Their fear anchored them here forever. Elias led me to an old church ruin. The doors were broken, yet it offered the only shelter. We ducked inside, hearts pounding. Elias said, "Listen, the Headless Man isn't just a ghost. He's a force of vengeance, fed by every fear in this town." Outside, hooves pounded. The pumpkin glowed brighter than ever. I realized he was circling us, testing us. I shivered. The wind carried whispers. Laughter? Screams? I couldn't tell. Sleepy Hollow itself was alive, and it was hungry. Elias pulled a small, tattered book from his coat. He said, "Some knowledge helps, but knowledge can't save you from courage, only fear." I opened the book. Drawings of the horseman, ancient symbols, warnings. I understood then. The stories were warnings. A shadow passed the broken window. The horseman was closer. I could feel the void where his head should be, staring. Elias whispered, "Face it. Face him without fear, and you might survive." I realized it was impossible. Fear had been with me every step. The horseman's pumpkin flared brighter than the moon. The air became icy. The forest seemed to hold its breath. I took a trembling step forward. Elias followed, whispering prayers under his breath. The horseman stopped just outside the ruin, waiting. I knew then this night wasn't just about survival. It was about confronting every fear, every doubt, every shadow in my mind. And Sleepy Hollow was watching.
The ruins shook as the horseman approached. Pumpkin blazing, void where his head should be, he was a force of terror. I could feel the air grow colder with every step. Elias whispered, "This is it. Face him or be lost forever." I swallowed hard. My legs trembled, but I stepped forward. The horseman stopped, pumpkin glowing brighter than the moon. He tilted forward, like a predator measuring fear. "Your fear feeds him," Elias said quietly. "Focus, do not let him see it." I tried, but my chest heaved, mind racing. The horseman lunged. I dodged, barely escaping the swinging pumpkin. It hit a wall, splintering into glowing shards. I ran deeper into the ruins. The trapped souls moved in the fog, silent witnesses, their eyes wide, their mouths frozen in screams. The horsemen circled me. The shadows stretched, twisting the walls. I felt fear clawing at my spine. Elias held out the tattered book. "Read the names," he urged. "Call the ones who bound him here." I opened it, hands shaking. Names etched centuries ago. I read aloud, voice trembling.
A wind erupted inside the ruins. The horseman halted, headless form wavering. The ground beneath him cracked. "You cannot escape," I shouted, voice shaking. The horseman paused, then surged forward. I dodged, remembering Elias's words, "Fear feeds him, do not falter." I focused. No panic, no trembling, only resolve. The horseman stopped, confused, unsure. Elias whispered, "Now, step forward." I ran toward the horseman, chanting the names. The glow of the pumpkin flickered violently. A blinding light erupted. The horseman's body trembled, then shattered into mist. The trapped souls cried out, then dissolved, freed at last. Silence fell. The ruins were empty, the fog thinning. I sank to my knees, exhausted, terrified, alive. Elias looked at me. "You faced him," he said softly, "and survived. Sleepy Hollow will remember you, but it never forgets." I nodded, still shaking. The night was over, for now. But I knew the shadows would always linger. As we left the ruins, I glanced back. The trees seemed to shiver, the fog curling like fingers, and I whispered to myself, terrified but alive, "Sleepy Hollow, I'll never forget you."
The first light of dawn barely touched the forest. Mist lingered like a shroud, thick and unyielding. I felt the forest watching, still alive. Elias and I walked in silence. Neither of us dared speak of what had happened. The air smelled of smoke and wet leaves. Every shadow seemed to stretch unnaturally. I kept expecting the horseman to reappear, but the forest was quiet, too quiet. I tried to shake the fear, telling myself it was over, but my body didn't listen. Sleepy Hollow had changed. We passed the ruins again. I looked at the broken stones, the empty fog. The remnants of the trapped soul still lingered. Elias paused. He said, "They may be free, but the forest remembers. It never forgets." A faint sound reached me. A gallop, soft and distant. I froze. Been real or a trick of my mind? We continued toward the town. Every step felt heavier than the last. The shadows seemed longer, dark. "Elias, will it ever end?" I whispered. He shook his head slowly. I tried to laugh, but it caught in my throat. Sleepy Hollow isn't over. It lingers in those who walk these woods. The horseman is patient. Patience is eternal. I shivered, feeling the cold seep deep into my bones. The fog twisted around us, as if alive. Even the daylight felt uncertain, wavering. A crow cawed somewhere above. I jumped. The sound echoed unnaturally. Elias placed a hand on my shoulder. He said softly, "Some nights, the Headless Man walks again, and those who've seen him never truly forget." I nodded, trembling. The town appeared ahead, quiet, empty, yet watching. I realized the curse wasn't over. Sleepy Hollow had marked me, and I would carry its terror wherever I went. Even in daylight, even among people, I felt the shadows whispering. The wind blew through the empty streets. It carried faint laughter, or was it screams? I couldn't tell. I didn't want to know. I glanced back at the woods. The fog shifted, almost like a shape watching me leave, and I whispered to myself, terrified, "Some nights, he's still out there."
Night fell again over Sleepy Hollow. Even in my dreams, the fog returned.
Every shadow seemed alive, watching. I tried to tell myself it was over, that the Headless Horseman was gone. But deep down I knew the truth. Sleepy Hollow never lets go. The forest remembers every footstep, every scream, every soul that dared enter, marked forever. I walked the streets of the town. Empty houses stared at me with dark windows. Even the wind whispered my name. I tried to leave, tried to forget, but the memory followed, clawing at my mind. At night, I still hear him, the pounding of hooves in the distance, a hollow presence where no head should be. I can feel the forest breathing, twisting shadows across my walls. Even in daylight, I see shapes in the corners of my eyes. Sleepy Hollow is alive, and the Headless Horseman waits for curiosity, for fear, for anyone who dares return. I remember Elias's words. Some nights he walks again, and those who seen him never truly forget. I realize now he was right. I hear the wind through the trees. It whispers of nights I cannot escape, of shadows that move when no one is looking. And sometimes, when the moon is high, I swear I hear the faint sound of hooves behind me, and I know with a cold certainty that Sleepy Hollow never forgets. I should be safe now. I should be free. But every shadow reminds me he is still out there. And I whisper to myself, terrified and trembling, I spent the night in Sleepy Hollow, and the Headless Man is real.